radio files up. We'll switch to it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, good evening and welcome to the eve of July 4th here on PJNet Live. And I can't think of a more well, we have so many guests that are so good. I hate to use superlatives because invariably that would be sort of an insult to the others. But we have the cheerleader of faith, Michelle Adams, standing by in the green room. Hey, did you like that bumper? Did you like the new bumper, anybody? Michelle is in our studio now, and she is ready. It is. I assume you have plans for tomorrow, so I'm glad we don't have a show on Thursday night.
Yes.
I don't know what we would do. And everybody's getting ready. Now, what I'm going to be doing tomorrow is working an 11-hour shift. What are you going to do?
Well, not that. I'm sorry you are. We have, last weekend, our little small town of Bedford, Indiana, we had what we call the Limestone Heritage Festival, which we had the 4th of July parade and the fireworks and beautiful patriotic music. Everything was last weekend. They started doing this a few years ago, having it the weekend before whatever day the 4th would fall on. So we had the big city celebration last weekend, but tomorrow we're going over to some really good friends' house, having a cookout, swimming party if the weather holds out. It's been storming a lot here today, with fireworks tomorrow night at their house. Our whole family was home last weekend, so let's be with friends tomorrow. So yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a special day. Where the store is, where I work, is probably the closest retail store, little shopping center, to the park where the city of Tallahassee does the fireworks. So that park will probably start filling up at about noon. It's an all-day affair. You know, there's bands playing and
right.
So in preparation for that, since I was there last year, I know what to do. I'm not driving my new truck. I'm driving my old truck with nearly 300,000 miles on it, because our parking, once it gets crowded, our parking lot gets really crowded with some people who are, well, celebrating, but I'm not sure the 4th of July. They're happy about something. They seem to be.
Know.
They're having communion. And
they're excited about something.
They are, and we're preparing for being inundated with people who, where's the restroom? So
right, yeah.
But our store is going to close early tomorrow night, 8 p.m. So,
well, you got that then.
Yeah,
that's at least before it gets dark, so
my
you can see the
shift
fireworks maybe.
Yeah, my shift ends at 6, and so anyway, around the country, people are gearing up. The madness has probably already started. If you've been on the highway, I have not today. Have you been out on the roads?
I have not. I've been working at home today, trying to get a lot of deadlines hit and things before tomorrow, so I can take tomorrow off and be with friends. But no, I hear it's pretty crazy, and there are lots of fireworks going off, even though it's been storming today. I know this because my dog, we have a little dachshund named Molly, is freaking out, not only because of the storms, but also doubly because of the fireworks. So little word to the wise, if you have animals tend to freak out with fireworks. You know, I've been on the board of directors at the Humane Society here for a bit, and I tell you what, you got to be careful with those animals. Make sure that they're inside and that you don't let them out without being on a leash, because they'll run. And you know, even if you have like a thunder jacket, you put on some of them for like storms. You might try that for the 4th of July. Turn the radio up, put it wherever they sleep. Just try it. Those dogs and cats get very afraid this time of year.
Somehow it doesn't surprise me that you're on the Humane Society board. You know, you're all heart, Michelle.
I used to be that. You know what? I think I got, well, I didn't really get kicked off, but they were like, hey, you have to make a few more meetings than you're making. And because I'm traveling all the time. So my heart is still there, but I don't physically get to the meetings anymore. So I guess I'm there in spirit. We still donate quite a bit to them. But yeah, I actually used to go to all the meetings that when I was in town for that. But we have a really active Humane Society here, and we're fixing to have a big yard sale. Every year they have a yard sale to raise money for the animals. We have 2 dogs, a little dachshund, she's 13, but our other, it's a shepherd mix. We actually adopted. She's a rescue from our local Humane Society. So yes, I do love animals. Had I been better at math and science, I might have been a veterinarian.
Well, several. Dale was on last night, and he apparently his mother or mother-in-law started as sort of a backyard firecracker thing has turned into a major event in that town, where literally thousands of people. So the church is actually sponsoring his church fireworks for the city, and
That's really cool, isn't it?
And they do it tonight. They do it tonight, So my dog's not in Ohio, so I guess it'll be okay. Because, and a lot of people, being that the 4th of July is on a Thursday, they're taking off Friday. Some states, a lot of my wife is a state worker, and most people around here are, who have regular jobs. The governor has not made July 5th a holiday. So some people are grumbling about that,
Yeah,
Now,
right.
And I wonder sometimes the people that are grumbling the most, just how patriotic are they? What's this really about? Because one thing that grieves my spirit, and it didn't start just this year or even last year, and I'm not singling out the 4th of July, but particularly on Memorial Day, it seems like these national holidays have turned into an excuse to just get drunk and cook and have family outings. And they've really kind of gotten watered down.
I mean, I think that anytime there's an excuse to get together with family and have a cookout, I'm all for that. The drinking thing, that's to each their own. I think getting drunk's probably not a good idea for anyone. But I do think that you need to remember what the holiday is about. Memorial Day is very sacred. The 4th of July is a time to celebrate our country. And I love like our last weekend here with the Limestone Heritage Festival, because we're the limestone capital of the world, Bedford, Indiana, if you didn't know that. Little trivia for you. So a lot of the buildings in D.C. and different areas in America that are prominent, if they're made of limestone, they're usually from the limestone from my little city here. So, but it was a huge festival, and they line up where our house is on the corner of 14th and M. They line up on this really, really, well, it's every, you can't imagine how many parade floats there are. Like this year, there were really a lot more than usual. But even in years past, when it would just be somebody with like a dog with a bandana around their neck walking in, that was a float. That's okay. We don't care. People celebrate, and you just love it. So we last weekend was really special to celebrate America, and we went downtown where they have the fireworks, and there was a band playing in the band shell, and as the fireworks went off in our city, boy, they do it up right. There was, I couldn't believe the finale. So many fireworks. I even videoed it. I put it on my Facebook page, so you can see it if you want to go look. But they were playing, like all these patriotic songs, like "You're a Grand Old Flag" and "God Bless America," while these fireworks were going off. And I thought, if that doesn't get the hairs on your arm standing up and make you feel patriotic, then there's something wrong with you. You're gonna have to get that fixed. I mean, it was just a very stirring night. And I looked around. There were thousands of people downtown, and then at one point, there's a huge flag over our courthouse. And they stopped, and we all, the national anthem played, and everybody stopped and put their hand over their heart. And I thought, this is a time I'm really glad I live in this this Bible Belt in the Midwest here, because people are still happy to be an American. And it made me very proud to be where I'm from.
Well, I did not know that you are from the limestone capital of the world, but neither did you know, just north of where I am right now, less than 15 miles, maybe 20 at the most, is a little town called Attapulgis, Georgia.
Attapulgis. I've never heard of that.
Well, it's called Attapulgis clay. They mine clay there. Now, have you ever heard of Attapulgis clay? No.
I have not.
All right.
No.
Have you ever heard of kitty litter?
Oh, yes. We have two cats, so I'm well acquainted with kitty litter, yes.
That is Attapulgis clay.
Really?
Yes. It is.
See, I mean, I'm ready for any kind of Trivial Pursuit thing to happen.
That could be the winning answer on a big game show, And, in fact, I also I work for AutoZone. We supply the fire department with the stuff they throw out to soak up the oil. You know what that really is, folks? It's called something else, but I'll tell you what it is. It's kitty litter.
Kitty litter.
Yeah, it's actually treated with some other stuff. But
Sure.
its base component is basically kitty litter. And but when I watch the some of the 4th of July fireworks, it's so spectacular. And guys like to see stuff blow up anyway. It's
true.
yeah, we like to pick the legs off, granddaddy long leg spiders and watch them do nothing. And, but I don't know, in all the celebration, and nothing wrong with celebrating that, really. Don't take me wrong here. But the symbolism behind the fireworks goes back to, the song written by Francis Scott Key that Dell talked about last night. Over the ramparts we watched, the rocket's red flare.
Rocket's red glare.
So, when we see the fireworks burst into the air, we all get excited and we celebrate and all that. But it's like, actually, that is to symbolize ordnance blowing up and people dying. But
never really thought of it that way.
I'm just a curmudgeon, I guess. I don't know. But, I really like the 4th of July. I'm glad that we keep it on the national calendar. What I like about the 4th of July, that and Veterans Day, are fixed dates on a calendar. They fall on July 4th or November the 11th, no matter what day of the week it is. Many other national holidays just happen to be on a Monday, which leads me to ponder, is this about a long weekend maybe? Did they plan it for the convenience of commerce so that people can travel and enjoy themselves? Nothing wrong with that. Time with the family. But recently, and I'll be honest, I saw you did a live Facebook thing the other day, and I started watching it, and I noticed it was kind of long, and I got distracted and didn't see the rest of it. But what were you talking about?
So I think it was yesterday. This week's been crazy, but I think it was. I was downstairs in between appointments. With my business, I was doing some online consulting, but I went down in between appointments and was fixing lunch, and Fox News was on, and they were reporting a story about where Gallup has done a poll every year about the number of Americans who are feeling patriotic. Mm-hmm. And it was not really good. It was, in fact, I pulled it up here just so I wouldn't get it wrong. But it says only 45% of U.S. adults identify themselves as being extremely proud to be Americans, even though 70% said they were kind of proud. But only 45% said that they were extremely proud. And then they said that the extreme pride number is the lowest since the Gallup began asking this question in 2001. And also the second consecutive year, the number has dipped below 50% for the extremely proud number. And I thought the headline said patriotism at its lowest. And, I just heard that in passing, and it just actually stopped me in my tracks. And I thought, my gosh, wow, we have so much to be grateful for. And there's so many reasons to be thankful to be an American and to celebrate this great nation, which is what I've been doing this whole year as I promote my What is America book. And I don't know, that really got me. So I didn't go in a rant, but I did get on Facebook Live and say, what in the world? What can we all just celebrate America and forget about our differences for at least this one day and just all get along, whether you're Republican or Democrat, no matter where you live in the country or where you're raised or what you believe. For this one day, can we just celebrate that America is a wonderful place to live and that we're all very blessed to be here?
That would,
and then wouldn't that be great?
It would. And I guess what impressed me is I kind of get a sense of how busy you are, and to have something emotionally impact you to the point that you stop what you're doing, no script, just grab your phone and just do something.
Yeah.
That was a very spontaneous moment. Have you done that kind of thing before?
I have, not very often, but I will do Facebook Live, but usually they're planned. Like my business partner that was on with me a couple weeks ago, Bethany Jett, we to promote a couple of our books, we'll do Platinum Faith Fridays, and we'll just take a part of the book and talk about it. But just to have something beyond on TV and then just have to go on and talk about it, no, I don't think I've ever done that before. Actually, it just hit me right in the heart, and I thought, oh, I don't think so. What is wrong with us? Since I had to get on there, and I prayed over those who are watching either live or by video, and just I read my little What is America book, and I just said, whether you buy the book or not, I don't care, but I want you to really think about it and take it to heart what I wrote in this book, because in America that I felt the day that I wrote this, and really I can't hardly read it without getting choked up. I still feel that. I just think that we should all get that back. We talked about a couple weeks ago, it's terrible when we have a national tragedy like September 11th and those kinds of things that you always remember where you were when you heard the news. But after that, for just a little while, the entire country came together as this unit, as one. It didn't matter if you were Republican or Democrat, or if you were Presbyterian or Buddhist or whatever. Everybody came together to just be an American and to stand together, because it was just what we needed to do. We needed to come together as a country to mourn, and also to just comfort each other, and to be strong, to rally together, to be strong for the next phase. And even though it was short lived, boy, it was wonderful for those few weeks or those few months of patriotism. No matter where you went in the country, people had painted their barns, like even the roofs of their barns, with flags, and you saw the American flag everywhere, and people wore little flag pins on their lapels. You saw it everywhere. No matter where I was traveling during that season, and I loved it. I wish we could get back to that without having to have a national tragedy to bring us to our knees.
Yeah, it's kind of like the only time you see some family members is at a funeral. It's bad
Well, that's
news.
true.
And
Yeah.
I am a history buff. Okay, and you may not know what I mean when I say the miracle at Dunkirk. Did you ever even heard of it?
I don't know that I have, but
All
tell
right.
me.
Well, I'm gonna. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I'm telling this as a setup to what I'm about to say. I'll
Okay.
try to keep it brief. Nazi Germany had pretty well taken over Europe. Now, the English had sent forces into France to mitigate the takeover of Europe. They were
Okay.
driven to the beaches of Dunkirk. They were sitting ducks. Well, word got out in England that the what was called known as the Expeditionary Force was stranded and pinned down at the beaches of Dunkirk. Every boat available went and got those men out of there. It took the better part of 36 hours, and that was
Wow.
I don't hold me to the exact number, but around 100,000 troops. Okay. After 9/11, there's a wonderful video. We've shared it here on PJNet Live in our chat room. After 9/11, people were stranded on Staten Island, and all they knew was they wanted out of there. They didn't know that what was coming next. Well, some obviously some merchant ships, all kinds of vessels were evacuating people, but then the Coast Guard, and this is way outside of protocol, goes on their emergency channels and said, every available ship, please show up. Well, the first problem that you would expect to have when you have that many ships converging on a single location, unguided, you're going to have accidents out in the ocean. Nothing happened. The place was pretty much evacuated in no time. And what you said earlier, see, those ship captains were ordinary people just trying to make a living. And they would pull up, and it didn't matter what color the person was. I mean, they just said, everybody
Right.
get on board. Nothing mattered. Okay, for those few moments, we were all just Americans, and it
Yes.
really stirs your soul when you see that. By the way, the scale of that evacuation exceeded that of the miracle of Dunkirk by a factor of about 300%.
Wow.
Incredible what we as Americans can do when we get together and decide
That's
we're
true.
doing this. Okay, we put a man on the moon. Okay, we got people together. Unfortunately, those those moments seem to fade rather quickly. I recall going into churches the next the next Sunday, and churches were just packed to capacity. And I thought, well, if that's what it takes to get you to church, but it wasn't long thereafter things, waned right back to where they were. People forget, and that's unfortunate. I was disturbed by some of the news that it seems that fewer and fewer Americans deem themselves to be patriotic.
Right.
By the way, another little trivia: the Gallup poll history. Just to give you some encouragement here, folks. In the history of Gallup polling, who was the most popular president of the United States? George H.W. Bush, right after 9/11. In the history of Gallup polling, who was the least popular president of the United States? George H.W. Bush. My point being is that, these opinion polls, these things like that are shifting sand. Americans are very fickle. We can be very angry one minute and very happy the next. So take it with a grain of salt. I wonder sometimes when you say something as broad as patriotic, that means different things to different people. It's sort of like asking people, are you a Christian? Many people will say yes, but then upon further questioning, you find out that they really just go to church, maybe,
Right.
or their parents went to church and gave a lot of money, or they give money to the homeless or whatever. So I'm not sure there's a lot of, clinical definition on what patriotic is. I think we all know it when we see it. We certainly know it when we feel it. But it was disturbing, the news that you saw. And we've already got fireworks going off in the chat room. Nike comes out with a tennis shoe with the Betsy Ross American flag on the back of it. They had shipped them to the stores, and that coward for an athlete, Kaepernick, voices some objection saying it could offend some people, and Nike literally called them back.
I know.
That broke my heart, Michelle. I don't know what to think.
I was surprised by that as well. I was disappointed in Nike. Here's the thing. This is part of what I don't understand about the dialogue going on in America in recent years. We all have different opinions. I put that in my little book. We all have different voices, and we have the choice to choose what we believe, because people, freedom's not free. We have that right because of other sacrifice, for us to be able to have the freedom of speech and believe what we believe. But there's not just one way of thinking that's right. So why is it that this one athlete's opinion, there may be some that agree with him, but not everybody agrees with him. So I think it would be his choice then not to purchase the Nikes and not to wear them.
There.
But what if I want a pair? Is my voice? Do I not get to have a voice then? Because I don't agree with him, that doesn't make me a bad person. I want the Nikes with the flag. I thought it was a good idea. So I guess I don't understand why one person's idea trumps somebody else's every time.
Exactly.
I think that we've lost that sense of we can all have a voice. We all have a vote. We all have a choice. We all can say what we want to say. But when one person can make that big of a stink about something, and then a company feels like there's such pressure to then take it off the market, I think we're in a bad place.
Well, and I have, I've stopped buying Nike when they brought him on board to begin with earlier. So maybe I could have been persuaded that Nike's trying to redeem themselves a little bit and do something patriotic. Maybe I would have gone out and bought some even though I didn't need them, just because they were just to show support for Nike. And how many other might have done the same? Now, Kaepernick, listen, think, dude, if it's really true that people are offended by the American flag, why don't you shut up and say nothing and let the sales flop to prove your point?
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm. But no, like you said, I don't have the choice, and we don't have the choice. One person decides. And I love an article that you actually sent me the link to. It was a op-ed. It had to be because it was full of and
it was in a New York Post, is where it was. Yeah.
And there were some very cogent points brought up in there. Okay, that, well, wait a minute, you don't stand for the flag because it symbolizes. The modern day flag symbolizes what? Police brutality. Oh, so let's try a different flag, and it symbolizes slavery. The common denominator here, Mr. Kaepernick, and I say Mr. with the very least amount of respect I can, only because you're grown up. Okay. It seems to me what's in common here is you just don't like our flag because you don't like our country. Is that possibly it?
Yeah. That's what this op-ed person, the person that wrote this particular piece, I should give him some recognition. Yaron, I assume it's a man, Y-A-R-N, Yaron Steinbuch is the name of the journalist who wrote this, and thought it was well done. That's exactly what this writer pointed out. Seems like that might be the problem, is he just really doesn't like America. So therefore he doesn't like the flag that
or he's a malcontent. He may
country.
not like anything. No matter what you do, he's going to be critical of it. All right, enough discouragement. I had Well, one more discouraging thing. I'm setting it up. This is just to set you up, folks. I'm optimistic. There's a lot of people just up in arms on social media that the gays are dressing up in drag and reading books to our children in public libraries. What do you think?
What do I think?
What do you think about that? Does that upset you?
Well, I think it's good anytime that children are read to. That's a plus because
Okay.
a lot of people are, they're always on screens anymore, and so I'm always like, oh, good. And I always encourage people, take part in there's several holidays throughout the year about read to America. It's Read America is one day. There's one in I Love to Write and Read Day in November. So I'm always encouraging people. You go into the schools and read to some kindergartners or read to some first graders. So I mean, I'm encouraged now all the time. So I'm thankful that people are taking time to read to the children.
Well, you're kind of circling you're circling the point I'm trying to make. So I'll land it for you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, they're upset because they're trying to normalize, homosexual lifestyles is what they're trying to do, and the people complaining, I agree with them, but I also have something of criticism to say to them. As Christians and as Americans, we have abandoned the battlefield, not so much as leaving a guard standing a post, and we've abandoned that battlefield, and then when the enemy occupies it, then we're just, how dare they? How dare they take the battlefield that we left? So I just wanted to make a suggestion or make a challenge. And I think you're a good one to make it to, because I've just got this idea that maybe we being heterosexual, patriotic American, maybe we ought to read some books to children in the libraries and not just give and quit complaining. Well, we can continue to complain, but in addition to that, do something. Why don't we read some books? Because as I'm sure if we were to look around, there are probably some books written for children that might be some appropriate stuff to read to them. Do you know of any?
I know of a lot of them. Yeah. And I'll say something on that about all the bashing that goes on in the press and the polarization and Democrats and Republicans and heterosexuals against those who have different I don't know. I don't even get it right now. It's like LBG.
Yeah.
Whatever, but there's a couple more letters now, and I honestly, I'm not being facetious. I don't know all the letters now. There's like not 6 or 7 of them now. I don't know that go together. I don't know what they all stand for. But here's the thing. This is something that I wrote about in just I don't know. I think it was my They Call Me Mom book. But I've taken my girls on spring break, so this is kind of what I'm getting to. And we were at Daytona Beach. It was my 2 daughters and their 2 really good friends, all in high school, And it was our first day. We were so excited to go to the beach. We're walking out to Daytona Beach. We're all in our bikinis because it's a perfect day. And I noticed there was a group of men and women who were dressed in like, inappropriate beach wear, not like bathing suits. They were like in long shirts and long dresses, and one of them had a bullhorn. I just wondered what was going on, because I was hot and I was in a bathing suit, so I was sure they were hot because they were in anyway. As we walked past, the man with his bullhorn turned towards us and called us not nice names, my girls were in front of me and called them Jezebels and said they were going to hell, and they called them sluts and different things. And I'm like, well, first of all, the mama hen in me, I'm like, oh no, he did not just do that. I will take that bullhorn away from him and do something with it. So I went up to him and I'm like, wow, whoa. I said, hey, sir, what are you doing out here? And he was passing out these tracts that said, God loves you, God, and all this stuff. And I thought, but you're calling everybody mean names, and like you're not being a very good witness for God. So I said to him, I'm like, there's probably a better way to maybe approach this than just like yelling names at people, you think? And so I gave him some scripture to think about, but he wouldn't speak to me. I got like the Amish shun, like he turned to me and wouldn't speak to me. So we started to walk off, and he yelled another name at me, and I was about ready to lay down my Christianity long enough and repent later because I was just really not happy with the man. So I turned back around and I said, you know what? You're doing more harm than you are good here. And I really appreciate your passion because it's hot. And I don't know how long you've been out here, but got your bullhorn and your little tracks and you're all dressed and you're hot. But your passion is good. And it's wonderful that you're committed. But you're not drawing anybody to the Lord, because the scripture says it's the love of God that draws men unto him. And there's no love going on here. You're just spewing hate. Mm-hmm. So when we walked back and they did it all day long, and 3 or 4 days after, we tried to go further down the beach. So I was afraid my oldest daughter might actually tackle the guy and I didn't want to have to go to jail or anything. But we went all the way down to the beach. Abby's a Spitfire. Mm-hmm. So, but I wrote about that later because I was so saddened by the fact that, yes, we all have our opinions. Yes, we know what the Word of God says about different things, but sometimes I think what happens is we, in trying to get the message out, it's said in such a horrible way that it's not wrapped in a way that people can receive it. And so I don't think you should be wishy-washy on your beliefs, but I also think that there's a way to maybe say what you're trying to say and express it, and not just always be complaining and criticizing, which is what you're saying. Rather than complain and criticize about this, why don't you make a difference and do something about it? Why don't you go into the schools and read? Why don't you be a solution to a problem that you're identifying? And I think that's the problem. That's the disconnect for me, where I see a lot of people are complaining about things, but if you're not going to be the solution, then you probably should just keep your mouth shut. So right?
I think it actually goes deeper than that, Michelle, because not only are they not being a solution to the problem, I can't get people zeroed in on the fact that we abandoned the field. There wouldn't be a problem if we would have been reading there was a vacuum there. We weren't reading to our kids in public places. There was a vacuum. Mm-hmm. And, darkness just filled it. What did we expect? We bear we are culpable in this. But people don't want to see that. That's not, And I say, yes, well, then let's take that field back. Let's go out there and read to our children. And you can do it. Your book, What is America? I haven't read it. I'm not a kid. But,
Well, you would still like it.
who would object? I mean, that's a message that, surely that's a message we can all agree on.
Right.
We don't have to present controversial stuff. We don't have to give them, advanced civics, and that kind of stuff. Give them age-appropriate stuff that builds a foundation and promotes literacy, and it presents us as normal, which I think we are.
But we took prayer out of the schools, and then I know when I was in school, we started the day saying the Pledge of Allegiance, mm-hmm. and then we do the pledge to the, to the flag, but we also did it to the Indiana flag, and we started every day with that, and then the national anthem. That's every single day of school was started that way. I don't think that's been done for a long time in many of the schools, although I hope it still is in some. And so when you start taking prayer and the pledge and all those things out of the school, I think it's no surprise that a lot of the kids are growing up without that patriotic, that love of country that all of us experienced and have grown up with. And so I guess this poll in some ways didn't surprise me, because I don't know how old those kids are now, how many generations it's been that's been taken out of the schools, but it's been a few. It's been several years. We're seeing what's happening. They don't grow up with that sense of country and that sense of being grateful to be in America and to be an American, because we took all that out of the school. So I hate that, and I hope we can get it back. I hope that we can rally together and get that back. I'm a little bit of a Pollyanna, and I'm not sorry about it. But I believe that at heart we're good people, and I believe that there's enough of us that are grateful for this country and grateful to be in it, that if we can let our voice be heard a little louder and not be the constant complainers, but be the ones that rally together to make a difference, that we actually can.
Well, there's an old cliche, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Well,
John Cougar Mellencamp sang about that. He's from Indiana. I like him. Yeah.
Oh, I can't. See, now I know two good things out of Indiana.
See there.
But Copernic took this and made it into a false teaching. Stand for something, even if it costs you everything. Well, wait, whoa. Stand for something, not just something. Stand for something good. But there has to be a moral foundation that underpins that, and that's why when you remove the moral underpinning, that you can get false teachings like, well, as long as you're passionate about what you believe in, that's good. No, you could be wrong. Hitler was passionate about what he believed in. Okay,
right. Yeah.
False we've got to keep shining the light. The light drives away darkness. And when you turn the light on, the cockroaches run. And I think we just hadn't turned the light on enough. And but if we get infested with cockroaches, maybe somebody will think, maybe we'll turn the light on, stomp them out. We have gone way over what we usually do, but that's okay. We don't really have a time limit, and but we're glad that you are putting out good material for children. I hope that it prospers. I hope that it just grows like a wildfire out there. And I was in Walmart today, and I did look for your book. And,
was it there?
I didn't see it, but it was kind of disorganized, and I didn't stay long enough to, how books get placed, so it might have been behind something that shouldn't have been there.
Or let's just believe that it sold out. Maybe that was it.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. They just
right.
Just so I didn't see any vacant places in the book, but anyway. But if you want to believe that sounds really good to me.
I'm just going to believe that. That's right.
You really do. All right, what you got? Got any writers' conferences coming up? What's in your week ahead?
I told my agent, I'm like, I'm taking all of July off because I've literally been on deadline for a solid year. I've had 1 or 2 books on my plate for a solid year, plus client stuff. And we're already into July, and I'm going to be working until I go on vacation. But Jeff and I are going to be going fishing. The bass fish will be coming your way, actually. In a couple of weeks, we're going to take about 10 days driving through the South and fishing. And then I'll be back, and my next conference is in North Carolina, I believe. I've also got one in Georgia coming up in August. So, I'm taking the month of July. I'm going to finish, hit some deadlines here in the beginning. And then the rest of July, I'm going to fish and just be with my husband and, get reacquainted. I've seen him kind of in passing the last little bit. It's like I'm unpacking a suitcase, doing laundry, or packing, and be like, hey, see you later. So it's been a little crazy.
Yeah. Well, you've shared that you have visited Epcot. You've shared you were visiting in Daytona Beach. Michelle, you and your husband are welcome here anytime because, you see, we are one of the 5 states in this country that does not have a state income tax. And the reason we don't is we have a high sales tax so that people like you can come down here and reduce our tax burden and then go back home.
Yes.
Broke. That's the idea.
Yes, we come down about 6 or 7 times a year, so we're doing our part to help out with that. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And
you're so welcome.
Just make sure you leave broke, come down here with plenty of money, leave broke, and we're good. So, all right, Michelle, it sounds like I think you deserve a little time off, and I think you're a big girl, and I think you'll know that when it's time for the time off to end, it's time to get back in the trenches and get the nose back to the grindstone. I have no doubt that you will be right there when that time is up, and just God bless you. Have a happy 4th of July weekend.
Thank you. Real. You too, and everybody out there, happy 4th of July. Celebrate America.
Celebrate America. Thank you so much, Michelle. You're a champ. Well, folks, there's a lot of patriotic people out there. I don't care what the polls say. And I'm going to be one of them. Even though I'm working, I'm patriotic around the year, folks. I wear this shirt all the time. It's got a little flag on it. I've got some other ones. There's some really neat T-shirts out there. You can be bold for America. You can be bold for Christ just by putting on a T-shirt, for crying out loud. So make a difference. Make a stand. Let's get back to having some fun here on PJNet Live.
And you have a choice to make.